Hello and welcome everybody to the Empower Hour with Isabel Starck. I'm your host, Isabel Starck. Nice to see you all here. It is a beautiful Wednesday afternoon in Toronto. The sun is shining and I'm in my office today because I'm getting enough sunshine. So excited to have you guys here. We have a very, very special guest, near and dear to my heart because she actually created my website. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at my website, the design, it's all Jess. So would love for you guys to have a look and give any feedback. You know, she's been really involved with the community that we created. It's called Fiercely Feminine Entrepreneur. And I'm just thinking about how I first got to meet her. I'll go into a whole little intro before I actually bring her on, but I do want to reconnect and kind of give you guys a little bit of a recap as to what's been going on in the last week and actually what's coming ahead in the coming week, which is super exciting because our next show is going to be coming to you live from Southern California, my birthplace. And I'm really excited to be able to interview somebody live with me side by side for the Empower Hour. I'm going to be attending the final live event of my year-long certification program, and I have about close to 200 women entrepreneurs who are fierce and feminine and are really, you know, making changes in the world who are going to be there with me. So I thought maybe have a little surprise and not only bring one, but maybe a couple or a few and just have a little bit of a party and have lots of fun. Have lots of fun and just sharing our wisdom with you guys and, you know, answering your questions live. So for me in California, it's going to be 9 a.m., but the Empower Hour will always be at 12 noon Eastern time. So hope to see you then. All right. So welcome, welcome, welcome again. I'm Isabel Starck, your coach. I am your business coach. I'm your empowerment coach, and I'm the creator of the Fiercely Feminine Entrepreneur Group, which basically is a group that inspires, connects, and really supports women entrepreneurs in their journey to become an entrepreneur themselves. A lot of them are going from a hobbypreneur coming to an entrepreneur, and I help guide them through that process, and I'd really love to have you in there if you haven't joined yet. For those of you who are watching through the live stream on the website, you're watching it's a YouTube embedded video. If that's great for you and you are mobile, that's probably going to be the only way that you can watch. The other way, if you are actually on a desktop and you'd like to join the conversation and actually ask myself or Jess a question live, then you'll need to be on a desktop. And if you're watching on Google, there's going to be, down here, a bar that says join the conversation. Click on that. You'll be redirected to the Google Plus page. And at that point, you want to press the 9 squares that are either in this area or this area. Hover over that. Select the Q&A app. A sidebar will actually open up. Just type in your question, and I'll be able to receive it here and ask it live for Jess. So I felt like I just let this stuff come right out. I have to take a little breath. And I actually have my coffee, so excuse me while I have a little cappuccino. I know it's noon, but I limit myself to 2 coffees a day. So I actually saved my second coffee for today at this time. So, all right, so what has been going on? Lots of activity in the group, number one. Been receiving a lot of messages from you guys regarding coaching and, you know, what next steps to do. One of the things that I'm noticing a trend in, though, is, again, the time management. I don't know if this is just kind of, it's floating around me, and I'm the magnet for the time management questions. But, you know, the fact that I've been able to start this business with a toddler in tow and also have our brick and mortar with my husband, you know, as with anybody, I think we really don't give ourselves a lot of credit. I've implemented a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of kind of checks and balances, even little metrics for myself in my home to make sure that I'm accomplishing things on time. And what I'm noticing a trend in is people desire to have a lot of retain things in their daily life, but because camera up again, and we're back. Yes, okay, here we are. So what I'm noticing is just basically the focusing. We have something in the group that I term the TTD, which is the top to do. And for most moms, most people, we have a to-do list. We have things that we got to do, that we write it down. And for myself, I found that my to-do list was like 100 items long. So what I needed to do is just, if I wanted to accomplish something, get really clear on what needed to get done that day and what I would feel amazing just feel amazing accomplishing at the end of the day. So that's where the TTD kind of came in. And then I took it a step further and I started really paying attention to balancing my life and balancing my business life with my personal life, because especially when you work from home, it gets really gray. And if you're an entrepreneur, it's like already black, because there is no line. It's basically, it's layered on top of each other, and you can be anywhere. You're going to mention your business, and because I have my son with me, my life is happening. So with the implementation I did, it's actually focusing on the PLAN, and the PLAN stands for personal, livelihood, so kind of like business or any kind of money making activities. A for activity, so that's like really getting out there, doing something. Even if you're sitting in your chair, maybe doing some leg lifts, maybe like doing some crunches in your chair. You can do that. And N is for nurture. Nurture your mind, nurture your spirit. On Sundays, I get to go to church, so I nurture it there. I also implemented and focused on praying in the evening with my son to put him into the habit of that, and also praying at meals. So it could also be just learning. Like I do a lot of wealth consciousness reading, and I actually do it daily. And if that's I consider another part of nurturing. So focusing on those 4 things, again, the plan, which is personal, livelihood, activity, and nurturing, really helps you create balance in your life. Now, doesn't mean that a certain day you're going to have 30 things to do on your business. If you break it down, you probably do 30 things on your business. But what I'm saying is just really being focused on the 1 or 2 things that really are going to catapult you and keep you on track for your longer term plans. That's a whole nother story. You need to know, so having a plan is super, super crucial. And again, if you're in the group, it would be great for you to actually search the FFE tip, which the FFE tip is something that I also created. It just kind of organically, people were giving tips, and I said, hey, let's just kind of do a little segment on this. And every weekday, you receive a tip from a member in the community. Now, I have a friend, an admin of mine, her and I are taking over Mondays and Tuesdays. She does Mindful Mondays, and I do Tactic Tuesdays. Jess, who is our guest today, had launched this with me, and she was actually on Wednesdays doing Website Wednesdays. We have Thursdays, we have someone else currently, Thankful Thursdays, which is Yvonne. And Fridays, we have Film Fridays with Dana Rivera. So love to have you in the group. Again, if you just hashtag FFE tip, you'll be able to find not only the current tips, but all the past tips that were recorded and posted up from previous contributors like Jess. So leading into Jess, let me go ahead and introduce our special guest today. As I said, near and dear to my heart, because I'm just thinking back to the first time I saw Jess. And I'll tell you guys my little story, because there's always that, when did you guys meet? How did you meet? I love learning that stuff. I don't know, it's maybe just me. I should probably take some water though. Hold on. Time out. Time out. Okay. So as you guys are, I was sitting behind my computer one day, working away, probably on, I think it was on Facebook. I'm working away and I see an ad. You know, they're all targeted ads, and you kind of see this. The one, I hardly ever click on ads, hardly ever. But there was something about this ad that really, but probably the color just really popped. And I was like, oh, that's, and I was also looking at, I was building my own website on WordPress, and I was having some struggles. It looked really chintzy, like not cool at all. And I had already had it for months, and I had never even announced it to anybody that I had it because I didn't want anyone to see it. So I see this ad and I click on it, and it's Jess's, Jess Catorc. So I go to her website and I look through, I'm like, oh wow, she's got some interesting stuff in here. Okay, cool. But then this was like the hook for me. On her about page, I think it is, she actually has a little video down somewhere on the bottom. And yeah, okay, I've got a few minutes. So I click on the video, and it was actually a video that she recorded for her. And number one, a little bit ago, like at the beginning, we'll do some dancing later. But she had music. It was Shakira's Waka Waka, I think is what it was. I don't know if that's the name of the song, but you know, it was that was the FIFA World Cup few times back, the one in Africa. So she had that song, and she had this whole choreographed video. I mean, number one, the story behind the fact that why she created the video, and like to really say happy birthday to her mom. I thought that was so sweet. And then she had clipped in these other videos of people doing the dance, and I thought, oh, this must be like a line dance. You know, I come from country times too, so I know all about line dancing, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a line dance. Later, I found out she actually choreographed the whole thing, so that's pretty awesome. But all the people that she was featuring in this video were actually friends and people that her mom knew. And I thought that was so freaking amazing, and I teared up. Like, I was just like so much caring, like so much love for her mom. I thought that was just like so amazing. It's told me a lot about her, and yeah, it just kind of instantly connects. So if you, I'm just gonna tell you, if you guys are thinking about doing video, it's really a way for people to get to know you, get to kind of get a feel for you. And really reach out. And I think it was right after I watched that video, I immediately sent her a Facebook message. You know, we weren't friends or anything. We weren't even in the same groups. And I just said, you know, I just watched your video. I just had to kind of reach out and say hi and say it was so touching, and I really loved it. And from there led this great relationship. And then, you know, we talked about creating my website, which is already done. And yeah, so that is how I met Jess. And I'm really excited to bring her on. We have a few questions that were previously sent in, and also I have my top 5 questions that I always ask all my guests. So we're going to get to know a little bit more about Jess. If you have any questions, you know, regarding website design, please feel free to type them in the chat box, and I will add them in. So again, if you want to connect live, press here for join the conversation. You'll be redirected to the Google Plus page, hover over the 9 squares, and click the Q&A app, type in your question, and then I'll read it out. So Jess, if you would like to unmute your line, I would love to have you come on live and tell us a little about yourself.
Hi.
Hi. Long and drawn out intro. So wonderful. Can you hear me?
Kind of. You're kind of cut out there, but I think I can hear you now.
Yeah, the connection's a little off today, so I apologize to the viewers about that, but best you can, I promise. So Jess, yeah, I mean, obviously I told everybody how we met, so they have an idea about who you are, but why don't you share a little bit in your words what it is that you do, and tell everybody about your new academy launch that's coming up next month.
Yeah, so Yeah, next month. Yeah. So I'm a web designer, and originally a web designer, and I started working more and more with female entrepreneurs, and I know like you've experienced it as well. But I posted in a Facebook group, and I was like, hey, I want to help people with a website. I'm kind of tweaking my offerings. Is anyone interested? And I literally got 100 people replying, but they kept saying, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I found you. I tried doing it myself, I couldn't do it. Or, oh my god, yeah, it's way out of my league, I can't do it. Yeah. And at first I was kind of like flattered. I was like, oh, I'm so glad I can help. But it kind of, I just kept hearing it over and over, and I was just like, surely there's somewhere, that you can go. And yeah, and so the more I started working with female entrepreneurs, I was like, there literally isn't anything there. And even from my own experience when I was learning WordPress, there wasn't anything that kind of helped female entrepreneurs that wasn't kind of all this tech talk and more on the feminine side. And so basically after that, I was just like, well, why don't I make a course to help female entrepreneurs? And it was last year that I had the idea, and then it just, I don't know, it started off as like a small thing, like a quick little course, and then it kind of got bigger, and then I got it like professionally filmed, and now it's just kind of like, I need to like get it out there. But yeah, so that's kind of how it started.
That's awesome. Well, obviously we all start somewhere. I mean, and I'm sure that that's not where exactly, I mean, maybe that's where the idea started for your business, but why don't you tell everybody about what inspired you to actually get into web design, or how this whole journey started for you?
So it's kind of a funny story. I actually started web design at the age of 12. Basically, at the time, and I like, yeah. So it was when we first started getting the wireless, not wireless, the dial-up connection, like the internet, and it was so.
Well, ding, ding.
But as a kid, I was like, this is so exciting. Like, I love this. And there's this website for like, it's like a virtual pet website where you could have your own pet, and you can make its own pet page, and you could feed it and play games. And one of the aspects of the site was you could make your pet its own web page. But like, this website was completely designed for kids, and so I was like, oh, cool, like I want to do that. And on the pages and the instructions, they kind of had this like basic kind of coding tutorials and how to do basic HTML. But I didn't really understand that it was web design. I was like, oh, this is a game. Like, you have to put like these letters in this order, and you get this background color. So I kind of started doing that, and it honestly hasn't stopped since then. I continued through like high school. I was doing computer programming, digital media. I studied at OCAD with digital media as well. But I just found that every job, even like corporate jobs that I was in, I always ended up doing like graphics design and web design. So it just kind of, no matter where I've gone, I've always kind of ended up doing it. And so I just figured I might as well do it full time. So that's kind of how it started.
Awesome. So 12 years old, that's pretty early. I think normally people at 12 are like maybe selling lemonade.
I probably could have done a bit more of that. Some pressure.
It's okay. I mean, this age, and I mean, I can remember being in school, oh my gosh, in the 80s, early 80s, and when I had my hands on the first computer, which I thought was pretty awesome. I think it was called the Apple IIc back then. Yeah, MS-DOS. So yeah, it kind of takes me back, and I'm dating myself. So we didn't have these cool pet website designs that we could do. So yeah, anyways. Okay, so that's how you got started. Now, for you viewers who are watching, you know that I always like to ask our interviewee kind of the same set of questions, and just to kind of keep it all on the same level. So I'm going to start with one of the questions that we typically ask, and that is really about success, and success in your business, success in your life. And I just like to hear from you in your words, how do you define this success? What does success actually mean for you? What are you striving for to be successful in your life overall?
I think I know people are going to roll their eyes when they hear this answer, but I genuinely think success is how you feel when you achieve something. The reason I say that is there's a lot of things that I've done that I thought I would have considered successful, and I achieved them, and I didn't have that kind of, the feeling I thought I would have when I achieved them wasn't there. And honestly, I think success is set a goal, but most importantly, I think it's how you feel when you actually achieve that. And if you've done something small and you've achieved it and you just feel amazing and you feel like you're thriving, I think that's more successful than doing something that maybe other people might think is incredible and, you know, amazing, and you just feel empty. So I think that's my opinion, and I know, like, I've heard people say things like that. I'm like, no, give like a good answer, like an actual something you can achieve. But genuinely, it's how you feel when you actually do it, I think.
It's wonderful. It's actually, it's a deeper connection, and I think true happiness is what everybody is really striving for. You know, just in society in general. So I feel you on that one. Cool. So the next question is kind of a fun question. Just kind of get to know you a little bit more. Kind of get to know a little bit more about Miss Jess Catorc. So we all have fears, right? All of us. It could be personal fears, it could be you know, business fears, and you have a chance right now to share one of your fears with the viewers. And remember, this lives on YouTube, so we're going to be able to find it. So you can talk about a fear that you've actually overcome and how you were able to do that, and what's the lesson that you learned out of that. Or you can tell us about a fear that you currently have, and maybe you were pushing through it in the moment. So let's hear it. What's your biggest fear?
Okay, so this this is really funny. My fear, to be honest, like growing up as a kid, I did lots of traveling. Even like went to Cuba, not by myself, but with my class when I was 15. Loved traveling and loved flying. I don't know what happened, but randomly, I was on a plane, I think when I was like 16, 17, and I think we had a bit of turbulence. I was just like, okay, I don't like flying anymore. And I honestly, from that point, I had such a like fear of flying. The turbulence, and it seems so silly because it's not like I hadn't traveled before. I used to love it. And it wasn't actually until this year. Like I always did kind of things like I would do some exercises. I tried Googling because I knew I didn't need to be afraid, but I think that's for a lot of fears. You know, you don't need to be afraid, but it's still there, and your mind's like, no, 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 we need to think about this now. So I finally, this year, I Googled fear flying course, and I did one with EasyJet, it's like an airline here. And it was full on, like, yeah, it kind of like, it got to the point where it's like, I'm ready just to, as cheesy as it probably is, to go to a fear flying course. I was like, to do it. It was amazing. They had like pilots there. I got to like speak to the pilot that was flying us on like the proper, I don't know, the jet engine planes. They did EMT tapping, and after that, honestly, I felt better. But I went on a flight a couple of weeks ago, and I was fine, and I don't have that fear anymore. And anyone that has, even if it's not fear of flying, but like do something about it, even if it feels corny and cheesy, like it's made such a difference. So that's my fear, was flying.
You got through it. That is awesome. I think so many people, you know, they have certain fears and they just kind of own them, they claim them, and they become a part of them. And they don't even have I don't know, maybe it's the insight or the desire to really get past it and to actually do something about it. So I really love hearing that you actually looked up the fear of flying course. I didn't know if they actually had one. Makes a lot of sense. And so was it there in the UK?
Yes, it was.
Fly to
it like a hotel. Oh no, you didn't have to fly to it. No, they did too. I will say they pulled in the middle of the course because it was a 2-day thing, and the flight, you had an experience flight on the second day, and they actually had a envelope that we had to open, and we pulled it out, and it was a ticket, and they said, hey, just so you know, we've actually tricked you. Your flight's actually tonight at 11 o'clock, and we've got a taxi driver out there. They had like this screen where they had like this pretend taxi driver. It looked like Skype, but it was if there's anything better than realizing how like big your fear is, it's being like, okay, you have to face it now. But yeah, it was really good.
That's awesome. And I've never actually looked up those kinds of things and keep up. I guess I've just, when I'm ready, I'll just go for it. And yeah, very cool. For those of you who might have a fear of flying, check out that course. I'm sure there's probably one on every continent so that you don't have to fly to it. And it makes you feel that way. But, wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. So my next question really has to do with, what it is that I do. I love empowering women. I love being able to help women. I love being able to see the greatness in them and really try to bring it out and really showcase it to the world. I actually had a little experience yesterday that had a little bit to do with this. It was just out of the blue. I called a friend and she needed something from me. Well, she didn't even know that she needed it. Like I asked her what's going on, how are you doing? And she shared with me where she was, and she was at a point where she needed to finish up some hours for a certification program that her and I are both in, and she needs to have them done by Friday. So I went into my fix mode. Like, this was literally in the middle of cooking dinner, because I would call her around dinner time, and I'd be cooking, I'd be on the phone, like, yeah. So I think it was like 7 o'clock, and within 60 minutes, I had 5 or 6 coaching clients for her that were ready to go. And that was just from my network, just from me thinking creative and just posting out there and being able to showcase her gifts in the right way so people would actually reach out to her. She sent me a really nice message, saying that how was I able to get people to respond to her so quickly? And it's just, I think when you have that desire inside of you, and which is inside of me to like really help women, it just naturally comes. Like, there was no, I mean, we obviously had a deadline, but I love empowering women. I guess that's where I'm trying to go. I'm going off on a tangent. But yeah, so I'm all about empowering women, seeing their best selves come out. And obviously, Jess, you have some greatness inside of you, and I've seen it. A lot of other people have seen it. I see you posting in the groups, and I just want to know, like, what it took for you to really define for yourself what it is that you wanted to do in life, and how you really felt connected to it, and how you felt supported to be able to bring it forth.
I think it kind of goes back to the success of what I defined success as, and I think, and I'm to be honest, I'm sure I know I'm not the only one, and I'm sure there's people watching this that are like in the same, or we're in the same place. It's, you get to a point, I think, where you're kind of chasing your tail. You've got these desires, but you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, and then the feeling gets stronger of like, that there's something else that you want to do, or there's something else even that you're meant to do. I don't know. And I always knew
a bigger purpose.
Totally. And it's just, I think it gets to the point, like, everyone has it, and there'll come a time where you can't ignore it. Like, no one goes through life being like, I don't know, I'm happy doing whatever. And so for me, it just, I don't know, I just had this kind of desire, and I love creating, I love doing like videos and websites and stuff, and what it was I started doing, obviously, working with clients, and I wasn't resonating with them. I was working on projects, we weren't clicking. And I started kind of putting more of myself in my business, like wearing pink. I said that I danced. I didn't think people would take a web designer seriously who dances. And I put more of myself in it, and the more I did that, the better I felt. And I didn't feel like I was kind of fooling anyone, or I wasn't always catching my tail, like, oh yeah, I'm really corporate, professional, and boring, like, I can help you with the website. It was just more me, and the more I was like that, the more people came to me that I loved working with. For instance, like, I got to work with you, and we just clicked. And so that's kind of, the more I did that, the more I kind of felt like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and just kind of is like a snowball effect. And then just having, to be honest, my mom's like my biggest fan, as in, I'm sure everyone's mom is, but like, she'll send me a message like every second day and be like, hey, just want to let you know like what you're doing. I believe in you. Do it. Just having a bad day, and she's like, don't you dare let someone tell you that you can't do it. I'm gonna, you know. So I think that honestly, it's been that kind of support, and then following what felt good. So if something doesn't feel good, or you're forcing, like I love the analogy of like swimming upstream. Don't do it. Let go and follow what feels good. I think that's been kind of the biggest thing for me.
That's awesome. You know, you mentioned also your mom and how much of a support she is. And she was and she is, and believing in you. And it sounds like she really instilled a lot of, you know, self-confidence in yourself. Would that be right?
I Yeah, like it's. I mean, I'm an only child as well, so I had lots of like mom attention. But I think honestly, if anyone is like, I don't even think you have to be a mom. I think even if you have like a friend, but you don't realize how much of an impact you have, positive or negative, with the things that you tell people. And just, I think because she was a professional ballet dancer, so she kind of went her own route, and so because I was doing that as well, he just kind of was like, no, no, you can do it, like just, you know, be smart about it, have a plan in place, but there's no reason why you can't do it. So I think, you know, like you said, with your friend or anyone that has someone else that is doing something, like even just being like, hey, I love what you're doing, you can do it. It makes such a difference.
Awesome. Well, the word kind of came up too, which is I think kind of awesome to know really where it is that you want to end up and where you desire to be, and having goals in life is really, really important. It'll keep you on track to where it is that you want to eventually end up, because it's, you know, it's about enjoying the journey and also enjoying the destination. So great to hear that you're actually implementing those things as well. So I see that obviously you're really busy. I know in the times that you've been creating the website, you know, there were like I kept messaging you on certain things. Oh my God, this girl's like busy, like she's everywhere. You're doing stuff. I knew that you were working on this academy, your do-it-yourself academy that you're launching pretty soon, and you were really focused on that. And I love that. I just want to know if you could share with our viewers what kind of tools did you implement to make sure that you stayed on track? And you know, it could be like software tools or, you know, mindfulness tools. Like, what is it that you did to make sure that you stayed on your track and to achieve your goals?
This is really ironic because I'm like a web designer and all into tech. But I actually just open up a Word document or I write it down. I've got like my little planner. For me, the biggest thing is planning out what I'm going to do the next day, the night before, because I find it really hard, and I think a lot of people get this, where you're all relaxed, ready to go to sleep, you've done your meditation, you fall asleep, and then all the things that you think that you need to do come up, and you're like, oh no, okay, remember 3 things tomorrow morning when I wake up, and it's just, there's no way, and you wake up and you just already have that kind of on your shoulders. So I found is writing what I need to do the night before, so really thinking, okay, what didn't I get done today? That needs to be a priority, highlighting it. And then the next morning, going through it, and as I do something, taking it off. I'm sure there's much more like efficient ways of doing it. But honestly, for me, just seeing, like, having that list and being like, sweet, did that, that was probably, honestly, what kind of keeps me sane. And I think also meditation, honestly, and feeling good. So being like, if there's like a stressful situation or I have a lot of stuff to do, I just need to, I can't do it until I feel good. As in, like, I can't feel stressed when I'm doing it. I can't feel annoyed. I have to be kind of in that zone. Because, like, I think it's with anyone, like, if you're stressed out or you've got all these other things on your mind, you're just not going to do a good job. You're not going to be efficient. You'll probably take twice as long to actually do something. But that's my biggest thing, I think. It's not really rocket science, but it works.
It works. And the reason I ask this question of everybody is because everybody comes with something else. Like, I know calendar had really come up a lot. You know, people use Evernote. I'm starting to use Evernote really diligently now. Lists, you know, I have my planning calendar. You guys have seen it a lot of times, you know, with my little it's totally dog-eared because I use it all the time. And like you said about the daily planning, I think that's so crucial. And I know that's why it's worked so well in the group with the TTE, the top to do, is it's kind of that accountability too. You know, like listing it down, knowing what your goals are, and then coming back and kind of checking it later and going, oh, done, you know, finish this one. And you're able just to kind of, I don't know, there's that joy in like crossing things out, and there's that joy in typing the words done.
Totally.
Awesome. And that leads me to my last general question for all of my interviewees, and that actually has to do with your top TTD. So I would like to know, what is your top goal for the idea, what it is, and I think it's coming true.
Can you say the last part just one more time? Sorry, I think you cut out 1 second.
What is, oh, did you hear me? I'm sorry, I know we froze. So I'd love to hear what your top to do for 2015 is. I have an idea what it might be, but I'm going to let you say it in your words.
Yeah, so my top to-do list is something that is a year overdue. Not overdue, but a year in the making. And that's my online course. It's definitely, like, I'm getting to the final stages of, like, I've got my videos, my editing's almost done, I'm creating my pages. And once it's done, it'll be like the most amazing, like, done, tick. So that's my top to-do list, hands down. I'm sure that's what you were gonna say as well.
Exactly what that's what I was thinking it was. And you know, even though it is one huge top to do, I'd like you to share, like, I know it's hundreds, but like, can you think of, or can you even just imagine how many to-dos actually created this huge to-do for you? Because it's all about the small goals, right? The small steps that you take to finally chip away at a year-long goal. It's not like you end up a year later and you're like, oh, I'm going to create this today, and it's done.
I wish.
Yeah, so I'm guessing there was probably tons in there. I know, at least from any of my larger goals, it's always about chipping it away and doing, you know, something small every day to get you there. And for the short time that I have known you, I know that every time we've spoken or interacted, there was something that you were doing towards the Do-It-Yourself Academy that you were working on that day. So you practice what you preach, and it shows. So good job.
Yeah, I think because it was such a big. Well, to be honest, I think what happened was, if I knew how much work I had to do when I first had the idea, I probably would have been like, do I really want to do it? But I think I started with an idea, and then I was like, I'm just going to do like a simple course. So I had the outline for what I wanted to cover, and I asked, that was the biggest thing, is I also asked my, like, I had on my email list of people, what do you want to learn? That helped because then I knew what people needed to learn, and I could break it down into different steps. And then, yeah, it would be like 1 week, I just need to write the script. That's all I'm going to do. And then the next week, all right, I need to plan out, how is the page going to look? Or what do I want to have, like, image-wise or layout-wise? So, yeah, it's definitely, like, I wish I kept my notebook of all my, like, everyday, like, my to-dos. Yeah, I'd probably have, like, this, like, massive, like, novel.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you, and I think you're right. And you actually just mentioned something that I want to kind of point out to our viewers too, is the fact that you actually asked your ideal client, your target market, what they wanted. And I think that's very, very crucial. On this huge endeavor of creating an academy with so many modules, and it's going to be, you know, it's a pretty big process. So what I've seen with a lot of people is, you know, they just create something because they think, I'm inspired, this is so amazing, and this is great, everybody's going to want it. And they spend months, if not maybe close to a year, creating something, they launch it, and it's just blah. So the way to ensure that you're actually going to get some traction with it is interviewing your target market. And I think that was really smart of you to send out a questionnaire and kind of just find out what they really wanted, so you can actually flip it into the course, and they'll be interested to buy once it's ready.
And it was really surprising. The things that you think people want to know, they don't actually want to know. So
Give me
it's
an
really good.
example.
Say again, sorry?
I said, give me an example. What was some things that you thought needed to be in the academy that you ended up not really needing?
So for me, I was like, all right, so I'm going to do a DIY website course, but because I'm a web designer, it's like, all right, I'm going to show how to customize this option, like opt-ins, how to make like a really nice horizontal opt-in, and using the MailChimp code and how to customize it, and really make this amazing website that you did yourself. And obviously, I didn't say that to anyone. I was just like, what's your top DIY website struggle? And a lot of them was like, what's a theme? Or how do I add a theme? And it's just like, I need to change how I'm approaching this because I actually think another thing as well is knowing who you're targeting, like really specifically. Um, and so, yeah, so I'd get those questions, and it was really, people wanted to know the basics. They wanted to know what they needed to know before they even started. Um, but because I did that, the course is so like clear and simple. It's not, there's no coding as much as I'd love to do it. And yeah, so I think any idea that you have, if you can ask someone or like a group of people, then like, are you interested? And what's your questions or what are your struggles? I think it does really help.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we are at the stage where we're actually going to open up to Q&A for the guests. So I'm just going to make sure that I have this Q&A open wide. Thanks for sharing all your insight. I think for such a young girl, you have a lot of wisdom, which I think, it really shows, number one. And I do have to say that I think your mom really helped kind of make that happen for you. For me, it's actually my dad. My dad was the one who really kind of inspires me, and he's still my go-to, when I need to kind of check in and balance. But having that support it's priceless, really. Like when you don't believe in yourself enough, or when you start questioning, do I really have enough to offer? Having that one person who you always know is just going to fulfill that need is super, super important. And we're very blessed to be able to have that. I know that there's a lot of people out there who don't have a mom or a dad or anybody in their family that is that support for them. So it's I guess I just want to say thank you to my dad. I know he can't hear, but unless he's watching, which I really doubt. But maybe I'll send him this video and be like, watch this stuff.
You should. Yeah.
So yeah, I think we just have to give lots of thanks for our parents.
Even like people.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think you cut out there.
Okay, you were saying?
I was just gonna say, if even anyone that gives you positive like feedback, like friends, like let them know that you appreciated that, because I think a lot of the time people like are supportive, but they're just kind of like, yeah, you can do it. But like just telling someone, being like, just so you know, when you said that I could do that, I was in like a really low place, and that kind of helped. So if you want to give me more of that, I just think acknowledging too, and yeah, saying thank you to people that actually do it. It's
yeah, you never really know how you show up for people and the timing too. I was very cautious, I think, and aware of the tone of people. If I call my friends or maybe family members that I haven't talked to in a long time, and just you get it instantly. Like I'm very, I don't know, I guess in tune with that, and I know exactly where the conversation needs to go to either be able to help them get through something, or for them just to kind of make me feel good. And again, like you were saying, just being thankful and letting them know what a difference they made. So I actually was just doing some thinking on this. There's always lessons that we learn, and a lot of times those lessons obviously come from interaction with people. So we're constantly growing and showing gratitude and giving thanks to lives. I think is super important. Well, you know what? Oh my God, we only have 15 minutes left, and I've opened it up to the questions. So I want to ask if these questions in before we end. So let's see. This question first. We're going to say. Okay. Well, I think you kind of already answered this one. These questions came in earlier. So it was when or how did your passion for web design start? Did you kind of touch on that a little bit with where you started, or do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more?
I think, yeah, it was honestly, it was just, I was 12. I think it was obviously the fact that I was learning the websites on that virtual pet site, but I think it's also like, we'd have like slumber parties with our friends, like our girlfriends, and we'd end up like making pet sites at each other's houses, and like we'd go to their house and be like, oh, like what page did you make? And that sounds so sad right now. Like, yeah, we went on to make websites, but I think it was such a like a social and like a fun thing, and you're being like, oh, like what did you do? And you know, at the time it had way too many colors and those like sparkly GIF images. But I think it was just because we were doing it kind of as friends and it was exciting. I think that's just kind of what triggered it, and then I just kind of kept doing it. So I think that's really where it started.
I have to say, you just mentioned something about the social aspect of it, which I think most people who think about web design, they don't think there's any kind of social aspect to it, because you're just like sitting behind the computer and I mean, even you and I have been on the phone or on Skype and we're like both humming to ourselves, we're doing something, we're getting it done. So you don't really feel that social aspect, but I'm so glad that you mentioned it, because it really is. Even with you being on a different continent and us being, you know, time zones apart, just having somebody that, you know, you can kind of chat with about what it is that you're doing is just that connection. I'm a huge proponent on connection, and I think it's really cool. Oh gosh. So, okay. Obviously, some viewers will want to know a little bit more personal about you.
Okay.
You're into website design, but also you have to have some other interests. So the question is, outside of your business, what is one of your biggest goals?
Okay. So it's a big goal. It's a big goal.
Okay.
But obviously, so I did that flash mob for my mom's birthday, and it was so much fun, obviously, because you could dance around in the street by yourself and no one says anything. My goal, it obviously isn't going to be this year, but I plan on doing a flash mob in different cities around the world and filming it, and I want to make it one video. But in each city that we're in, I want to raise money for local charities and like kind of film the actual people that you're helping. Because I think, I don't know why, I've just kind of always been, like, you've got like your bigger charities like UNICEF and all that, but I kind of felt the smaller ones kind of get overlooked. Like everyone's sending money kind of overseas. It's like, well, you know, there's some good things you can do here. So I don't know, it just would be fun. Like I just kind of want to, like kind of how I did with everyone, like my mom's friends doing the same choreography, but it'd just be different places around the world. And I think, honestly, with the internet now and like your email list and you're connecting with people around the world, I don't see why, you know, who doesn't want to dance in a flash mob? So that's my goal.
Oh,
I don't have a date yet, so don't quote me on anything, but
I won't quote you on it, but I'm really happy that we actually know each other so that I can help in some way, because, you know, I'm in Canada. Oops, are you there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're looking for something in Canada, I have the perfect place. I know exactly where to do it. Oh, that sounds like so much fun. Yay!
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we received a question, which an inappropriate question. So we're not going to go there. We're going to skip to our next question. But thank you, Air Green, for your question anyhow. And thanks for watching live. Let's see, the next question, we got, what, 11 minutes to go. What is one thing that people would be surprised? Yeah, people really want to get to know you. Let's hear. What is one thing that people would be surprised to learn about you, Jess? Let's share.
It's probably not that exciting, but because my mom was a professional ballet dancer and she's a teacher, so I've been dancing since the age of 3. I was in the opening and closing ceremonies of the Olympic ceremonies in Vancouver, and I toured with Princess Cruiser. So that's kind of like out of high school. I think most people think like web design, they're like, oh yeah, yeah, you dance. It was like, yeah, I did a bit. So I think that
Cool.
it was fun.
That is pretty cool. I know you mentioned that you did a lot of traveling. That goes hand. That's awesome. Very cool. This is actually a really good question. And I think so. If you could give one piece of advice to entrepreneurs starting out, what would that advice be?
Okay. Be careful taking advice from people who haven't done what you want to do. I think that was the biggest one that I've learned. Um, and I say this with so much love, but I think it's really, you have to be careful when you're asking for advice from people, especially if you have a business idea, and especially nowadays with like online businesses. I think not everyone understands what it is and how you can do it. Like even my my grandma was like, "Do you have a job? Like, how come you're not in an office?" Like she's super supportive, but it's very new, and I think be careful when, especially in like Facebook groups, if you're asking for advice from people who aren't in the same industry as you. Um, Seek advice from people who've done and have achieved what you want. Because I think one, you can learn from their mistakes. Like Tony Robbins says, you can learn from the people's mistakes, so you don't have to do them. And I think they'll have a much more clear vision on how you can achieve it, rather than maybe people who have their own kind of associations with what you want to do, but they don't really know it, and or maybe they're a bit jealous, maybe, or they want the best for you and they don't want you to fail. Sometimes that can come as negative feedback, or it kind of holds you back. So I think go seek mentors and people that have already achieved it. Ask them, hey, this is what I'm doing. Is it a good idea? And I think listen to those people. That's my biggest advice, I'd say.
I think that's great, and it's really great that you mentioned Facebook groups too. I mean, there is a lot to be said for being in a community with like-minded individuals, you know, men or women, but people who are basically kind of on the same path as you. But it doesn't necessarily mean that getting the peer feedback is going to propel you to the next level, because for the most part, a lot of them are still at the same level, or maybe even starting out even later than you did. And everybody's got an opinion, they're a dime a dozen. So I love the fact that you say really focus on a mentor, because having somebody who's committed to having you achieve your results and hold you accountable to them. And also, like you said, that they've actually done it themselves before, I think comes with huge, huge value. So really really great tip. Good answer to the question.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Let's see here. So, I've got a question here. What is one important lesson that you've learned while growing your business? So, how long has your business been in existence?
Say again, sorry?
How business, like your web design business? Because I know you've been doing it for a little bit.
One lesson. Okay, yeah, be yourself. And I know, like, I see when I say it, I'm like, I know how it probably sounds, but genuinely, it's not really like, if you are yourself completely, even in the copy, how you write, you're not afraid of, like, you have like a kind of sense of humor, you're not afraid of having that on your website, or you're showing it in your business. Because, like I said, when I first started, I was working with, I was even working with corporate companies, large companies, and even business owners that had their own established businesses, and it wasn't clicking, and I was really struggling. Either the projects would be so hard to work on because I just didn't have that kind of spark for them. People wouldn't pay, I was working with people that they weren't my kind of dream clients, I guess you could say. And then obviously after, I was like, you know what, maybe I should just see what happens if I wear a pink dress and put it on my website and focus just on female entrepreneurs, especially like in your group. That's kind of like, you can see there's a certain type of person that becomes an entrepreneur, I think, and they're very, they're motivated, they're inspired, and those are the kind of people that I wanted to work with. So I just made my website very specific So if you have a business, make it very specific on who you want to work with, who you are, what you want to achieve, and go with it. Because honestly, since I did that, I haven't worked with a person that I haven't clicked with, and also knowing how to say no. So if something doesn't feel right, you don't feel like you click with someone, it's okay to say no.
Yep, I totally agree with that. There are 7 billion people in the world, and you don't have to work with everybody. You know, you can actually only work with a handful at a time. So do remember that it is okay to say no, and it's not really about even competition. It's just more about being creative and attracting the ideal clients that you're meant to work with and that are meant to work with you, that resonate, that are actually going to be attracted to your story, your copy, your imagery, and your work. So I really, yeah, I love hearing that. Yeah, I did want to ask you a follow-up question on ideal clients. Like, did you do a lot of research? Did you actually do any exercises to help you get really clear on your
Yeah,
ideal client?
I did. It was actually inspired. What to think? I don't know where I think it was from B-School maybe. But what it was is basically just writing down who you are wanting to work with as like a specific person. So not like I want to work with entrepreneurs or I want to work with inspiring women, because that could be anyone, and there's probably 50 different types of people that would consider themselves that kind of person. So getting really specific on even like what kind of clothes they wear. Like I know like the person, like my kind of target person or target market, I know the brand she likes, I know the clothes she wears, and the reason is like when you are writing your copy, if that person is like that, they're gonna like look down and read it and be like, oh my god, this person, she knows me, like we need to work with each other. And the people that don't click with it will probably just move on to the next thing. So that really helps. It seems kind of quirky, like actually writing down someone's name, like their job title and the brands they like, but really does help.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes people can get really lost. I've had this conversation too with people getting really lost with their ideal clients and like finding out who am I meant to work with. And, you know, I heard from someone not long ago is just, you know, just do what feels right for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just start saying and the words and the things that you want to say. You're going to attract your ideal clients. They're going to resonate with you, and just start doing instead of being so stuck. I mean, you said you worked with B-School, and you filled out the form and just like really niched it down to one person. I did the same thing, but I remember myself, I was just kind of like kept going back to, but I can help everybody, but I cannot do this. What niching down really helps is with your marketing and how you position yourself, how you brand yourself, and the colors that you use and everything that's about your brand. It doesn't mean that you, like for example, it doesn't mean that you can't work with men. You know, there might be some men that really resonate with you.
Mm-hmm.
And your story and you know your branding, and you might click with them too. It doesn't mean that you can't, but the majority of your clientels do fit that avatar, that outline of that person. So very cool, very cool. Well, my dear, we are down to the last 60 seconds. Look at that. Okay, great. So you have coffee too. You have something to drink too. Awesome. I just wanted to take this opportunity to really say thank you. I'm really excited that it's really you were able to come on and share your story with our viewers. And thank you also for being such a great part of the community. As I mentioned earlier, you had done Website Wednesdays, so if anybody is interested in finding out more about Jess and her Website Wednesdays, please join the Fiercely Feminine Entrepreneur group. And also she can be found at jesscatorc.com. The link is actually on this page, so you can actually click on it there and you'll be able to connect with her live. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and we'll hopefully try to get them answered for you, at least in the Facebook group, if not directly. But do you have any final things that you'd like to share, especially the date for your upcoming launch? Would you like to let the viewers know when it's coming?
Well, I'll have the video series. It's actually, I've got a free video series that you can watch without even having to do the course, and that will be coming out on September 5th. So, September 5th. If anyone wants a free video series.
Awesome. And I guess the preview series will be available through your website, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, great. So I'll make sure I have the link on there. Well, my dear, thank you so much. This has been great. I know there's some time difference, but I think the timing worked out perfect. And thank you all to our viewers for joining in live, asking your questions, and being here with this beautiful, lovely young lady in pink. Thank you, Jessica Catorc, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week from sunny Southern California. Bye for now, everybody.